Good morning, everybody. Farmer Andrew here. I got a little distracted this morning, so I'm starting this video of day 6 of the sandy brush clearing job a little bit late. It's about 3 hours in. The boys are taking their first cud chewing break. We're about to get back to work. And so you can see we spent some time yesterday working on clearing this area out a little bit more. All the old fencing has been removed at this point. All the T-posts have. There's one more T-post over there, but we're using it as a marker for some fence wire, which is still tangled underneath that big log, that tree that's fallen. So the client is going to have one of his family members or one of their friends, I can't remember exactly which it is, come down with a chainsaw and cut up that whole big tree for firewood. That's a nice cedar. It's going to be primo firewood. And so they've got someone who's more than happy to come in and clean that up for them if they can keep the wood. So we've also still got that deadfall there. That's probably going to be too big for me to remove with the saw. But the big thing that we did this morning is I did a little exploratory trail. So the clients told me that they believed at one point there had been a trail carved along this little creek down here. And so I wanted to restore that trail for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, there's the aesthetic and entertainment value of having a nice little trail through this stretch of wood there, this little grove of mostly cypress. There are some maple and a lot of holly actually mixed in here too. So cutting this trail gives me a couple of different pieces of information. First, it allows me to see much more wholly the work area I still need to address. So I've got to handle all of this tangle of stuff down to the creek's edge. That is one of the boundaries of the work area, is that little nice beautiful creek down there. And you can see we're able to get all of this stuff down to the ground. And it's still pretty thick in here. So looking up the hill towards the house, you can see we've got all of these young volunteer red cypress, which for the most part are pretty small. They're shade tolerant, but a lot of them just aren't going to make it. So what we're doing is we're thinning these out so that they get a little bit more light in here. They get a little less kind of an impenetrable wall of greenery, and they can be a little less restricted when traveling through this property. You can see right now, you know, when you have that kind of growth, it's going to be a little difficult to kind of force your way through to the other side unless you don't mind donating a little bit of blood. There's lots of nice little spots along this creek, like this little rock over here, which would make it just a beautiful little just sitting spot. Sit in the shade, watch the water go by. A lot of mosquitoes down here in the mornings, though, which doesn't surprise me. Doesn't thrill me because they have historically always loved my blood, but that's the nature of the beast. And this is going to be some saw work there. It's pretty soft, it's pretty rotten, but unfortunately it's probably too much for me to take with my bow saw. And I really liked this little arch here of maple, but the problem is that one's dying and the one behind it is dead. So I'm probably just going to wind up taking them down just as a safety thing. And you can see it's been a while since this area's been maintained. A lot of deadfall, a lot of widowmakers here. So I want to make sure that as part of the job, I'm either decomposing anything that I can, bringing it all the way to the ground, and or identifying to the client where there are some needs for future removal of dangerous trees. And then this is the last little part of the trail here. So we have a little bit of a seep. I'm not sure if this is a drainage thing or whether or not it's just naturally coming out of the ground, but you can see, whoop, my feet are sinking in there pretty good. So if they're going to continue to use this as a trail, one of the recommendations I'm going to make is that they throw something down on top of this to make it a little less squishy, because the sense that I have is it's probably going to be squishy year round. And if they want to be using it to, you know, go out and walk the dog or something like that, then they probably want to handle that problem. And then this is the other end of this little short section of trail. This is their little campfire area, little fire pit. I think that's the wellhead down there. picnic table, and a nice little clearing with Burbling Creek coming from two sides. I think this is a really pretty area. Now I'm frankly a little envious. So we're going to work on cleaning up these blackberries between the goats, and my camp machete will get all that stuff down to the ground. This over here we'll continue to clean up over time. Any of these little saplings that are sort of getting in the way, and low-hanging branches. And then I also had an interesting conversation with a client yesterday or the day before, and I asked the question, hey, these saplings here, if I limb them up above head height, do you still want to keep them? And they said, you know, they'd prefer to have something a little bit more open, a little bit more light. So what we're going to wind up doing then is taking some of those short volunteers. I think there's a hemlock there and a few red cedars. And so again, the goal is to just open all this up, make it nice and light and pretty, and facilitate access throughout. And there's one other feature here I exposed. I think I might have already talked about this in a previous video, but I really am digging that big stump up there. That's a really neat feature. So one of the things I'm going to try to do is see if I can open it up enough around that so that it's visible, easily visible, say from like the house. And it just, I think it's a really neat kind of a forest monument, if you will. Anyway, so I'm going to go rouse the goats from their break here. We're going to get back to it, and we will see you on our next work day. So for today, this is Farmer Andrew saying, hey, have a great day.